Join us as we discuss Ape Escape on the next episode of the Time Hop Podcast. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Time Hop Podcast. I'm your host, David Lozada. I'm joined with Tim Ronan.
Hello, everyone.
And a very, very, very special guest, Chris Penwell from ActiveQuest.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Today's episode is all about Ape Escape, which was originally released in May 1999 for the original PlayStation. But before we get into Ape Escape, how's everyone doing?
Doing good.
Great. Tim, how are you doing? Still alive?
Yeah, I think so. Doing all right.
That's good. I'm doing all right too. Just barely hanging on, but I'm all right. So let's dive right into Ape Escape. In case you don't know, Ape Escape originally released on May 31st, 1999 for the original PlayStation. It originally released in North America before it released in Japan. In Japan, it released on June 24th, 1999, which is bizarre because this game was actually...
strange.
Yeah, because this game was actually developed by Japan Studio. So, a game developed by a Japanese studio released in America before, or North America before it released in Japan. So, okay, I guess. Ape Escape is considered one of the PlayStation's, one of gaming's, most classic games because it was the first to employ the use of analog sticks. So before then, we were relegated to just the D-pad, but this was the one that really kind of mapped movement to the left analog stick. It wasn't the one that mapped the camera to the right one because this game uses the right analog stick for something else. We'll dive into that a little later. But because of this implementation, the Japan studio really hit on something, and a lot of games afterward capitalized on it. I'm going to dive into Ape Escape lore here, so forgive me. The game tells the story of Spectre, who's this albino emo monkey who he's in an amusement park, and he somehow gets his hands on a intelligence helmet or something that he gains all of this intelligence. And he finds a way to go back in time so that he could rewrite history and basically make human beings more bestial and more primal than monkeys. It's a very bizarre plot, but okay, let's just go with it. The professor who implemented this device, he has an assistant called Natalie, and he kind of hires the main character, Spike, and his best friend, Jake, in order to go back in time and kind of capture all the monkeys that escaped so that they could not rewrite history and that everything's all right. So, diving right into it, what do you guys think of Ape Escape's presentation? Chris, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think this game really holds up. The graphics are more cartoony, so with that kind of art style, it tends to age much better than the average PlayStation game. Take, like, for example, Okami, that had more of an artistic style and that's aged gracefully. This is kind of similar, with its more anime kind of look. I like the how you can go into different menus through jumping onto buttons and things like that, and I find it incredibly charming, like the different locales you can visit. There's like a beach locale, there's like a prehistoric area, and then when Spike is like standing still, there's like an animation that plays, like him on a boombox, like listening to music, and 90s sunglasses. Like you can definitely tell it's from that era of gaming, and it's super, super charming because of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Tim, before I ramble on about Ape Escape, what do you think of its presentation?
Let's see. I'd say, I mean, you can tell it's from that era, but like being a PlayStation 1 game, but there's definitely it definitely looks pretty decent still, I'd say. Better than some, at least. There are, there's some levels that do stick out and are pretty nice to look at thematically and just the way they're laid out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that it's most noticeable that it's an aged game because during the cutscenes, because they're very, it's like blocks put together. I don't know.
Yeah, they're poorly done.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of use the comparison of like Legos, like little parts put together, and it's very noticeable. And like when they run or when they're moving and stuff like that, it's very jarring. But I do like the little details that they add onto the game, especially in the form of the monkeys. For instance, in the ice levels, because of course there always has to be ice levels in a platformer, right? The monkeys are wearing like long trench coats. In the prehistoric level, the monkeys are wearing like these caveman pants. It's these little details that really kind of immerse you into the world and make you go, "Wow, this game really has a lot of personality," and I love it for that. And then when you go into the bestiary of the game, it's cool to kind of read each description for the monkeys. My favorite is Dillweed. His description reads "lazy little guy," and that's it. And it's just so much fun, to just kind of like to read. Like another one reads, "doesn't drive with his driver's license." It's just fun, it showcases their personality, and it makes you feel like these monkeys are individualized and sentient.
Yeah.
In terms of, I mean, the colors themselves are very vibrant. I like the diversity. Spike himself, I love what they do with his hair. It's like this like Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that, where they have these like really elaborate hairstyles, and you go, wow, okay, this is ridiculous, but I love it because it's so ridiculous. And it does borrow a lot from anime. I agree.
It had its own anime, actually.
It did. It did.
Yeah.
It was a bizarre anime. Did you see it? I mean, did you?
I haven't seen it, no.
It's super bizarre, dude. Like it has like, it's just as like, it seems almost just as janky. It's weird.
Right.
It's not like, I don't recall if it was drawn in 2D. It seems almost 3D-ish. I don't know, man. Yeah. So bizarre anime, but it's all for a good it's all for good fun, and it really kind of plays with itself, plays with its world, doesn't take itself seriously. So what do you guys think of the game's gameplay? Chris, what do you think of it?
I love how this is very much a puzzler as well as a platforming game. The monkeys are put in specific areas, and you have to use your gadgets that you collect throughout the game to manipulate the area to successfully figure out the puzzle to collect these monkeys. My big issue of the game is the camera. I think it's really hard to control, and it gets stuck on walls a lot, and it does this weird thing with the camera where it like goes to a particular position whenever you've hit that trigger point in the map, in the level, and it's really hard to control. It's like it's kind of a nightmare at points. So, but also. Yeah, I like how the monkeys are interacting with the environments. They're making sandcastles. They're riding a dinosaur, things like that. That just makes it super compelling. But yeah, there's issues with the game for sure, but there's some really good positives to it too.
Tim, what do you think of its gameplay?
Just from watching it, I was. Prepping for this, I was watching some videos of it, and just watching it, it seemed like it's something that's pretty simple, but it could very well become addicting over time. Simple concept, you're in a level, catch monkeys, pretty much it. But then they take that and they evolve it a little bit. The worlds open up. There's more puzzly sort of elements that come in. And then you get more. You get these gadgets over time, and you have to use those in different ways. Sometimes you might not be able to do something right away, so you have to come back to that level once you get the right thing, which I personally like. Um, in general, I also like sort of collecting things and like being a completionist. So that kind of aspect of finding all the monkeys in a level, that also appeals to me. Um, I like how like even like catching monkeys is pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
Like the way it makes like a very short but sweet little event of it. Like the camera sort of pans around and Spike yells "Gotcha!" and
With
then
this awesome music as well. Like, I love that, yeah.
yeah, and like there's like lights, and then it's just like it's satisfying. It's quick, and it's always a good thing when the main thing you're being asked to do in a game is like it makes you go, yes, I did it. I did that thing.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. No, I agree.
Specifically, I really like the hula hoop gadget because you like it's a hula hoop that you like swing around your body, but then you like do it so fast that you get like this shield around you,
Yeah.
and then you run super fast, and that's just I found that hilarious.
It's completely makes no physical sense in the real world, but
No, it doesn't.
okay.
How crazy would that be if you could do that in real life?
That'd be really cool. We'd all have like hula hoops permanently attached to ourselves.
The gadgets are super cool. They're
They
really
are.
inventive, and they consistently change the gameplay throughout the playthrough. So, yeah, I think that part of Ape Escape is super compelling.
I mean, I'm with you, Chris, in the sense that there are some not inconsistencies, but things that you have to train yourself to unlearn today when you're playing the game, because today we're very used to the left stick controlling movement and the right stick controlling the camera, right? So because of this very ingrained gameplay scheme or control scheme, we have to unlearn ourselves to go, hey, movement's still attached to the left stick, but the right stick is very much controlled to the net. So when you go into an area and you're very frustrated with the camera, you can't rely on the right stick to remedy that. I think you could move, you could use the triggers to help a little bit, but for the most part,
You can use the D-pad as well.
the D-pad. There you go. You can use the D-pad to play around with it, but a lot of the time it's fixed, and it's fixed in very odd positions, like above a wall, or I don't know. It's awkward, especially, and the transitions are very awkward too. You're in one area, like an open area, and then it kind of just reverses itself, right? So you have to acclimate yourself to this new area, and the design there wasn't very smart, I don't think. Again, a lot of this game is about learning it and learning the menus and learning which gadgets are mapped to which buttons on your controller. But once you get used to it, it's really fun. Flicking the right stick could be really fun. Especially when you're like chasing it around these monkeys. They're running away from you, or like some of them have like assault rifles, and you have to like dodge them, or you have to be really careful and sneak up behind them because they'll kill you. They'll crush all your cookies, and then you'll die, and then you'll lose your shirt because shirt. I know it sounds so
strange.
bizarre when you say that out loud,
Yeah.
but shirts are your lives.
They'll take your cookies, take your shirt.
They'll take your cookies and then they'll take your shirt.
They won't take your freedom.
That's some Planet of the Apes shit right there. Yeah, it's fun. It is fun, and learning how to do all of that it's a joy. Moving on to the sound, I think, Chris, you touched on this a little bit. What do you think of it in Ape Escape?
The music is very irritating. I think there's like 10, 15, 30-second loops in this game, and it really gets you. Like, the music's fitting, but it's very, very annoying. It's like kind of like electronic kind of beats from a DJ or something like that. You know more about that, right?
Right. Yeah, it's from DJ Soichi Terada, and apparently he was really famous in 1999.
But also, I do like, though, the sound design of the monkeys kind of reacting to you, coming up to them, and it's really funny. But I also like the sound design of your gadgets. You know, when you're spinning them around, you can hear them going. When you unveil your beam sword, it has this like really cool sound effect. So there's stuff like that really adds to the game. And I think the atmospheric kind of like sound effects, you know, the ambience is quite well done for a game of this age.
Yeah, it's immersive, and it adds. I don't know. I feel like it adds a little bit to the fun too. This isn't really about the indicative of the world themselves, but I think Tim, you mentioned before about the little pan effect that it does when you capture the monkeys themselves. There are little things scattered around throughout the maps that kind of give you this satisfying feeling, at least from a sound design perspective. By the way, Tim, what do you think of the game's sound design?
In terms of the music, nothing stood out to me, I guess, as something I enjoyed. Sometimes, I guess I felt like the music didn't fit for some reason to me. Like, there's a level where you go inside, part of a level where you go inside of, like, a dinosaur's stomach. And I don't know, for some reason the music just didn't fit for me personally. Maybe that's just me. But then from more of the sound effect perspective, I think, Chris, you mentioned about the monkeys and their reactions and whatnot. Those were good. So the monkeys have like alarms on their heads.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there like a sound?
Yeah, there is.
For that?
Yeah, I think there is a sound. And that's really cool, that effect as well, because we failed to mention this. There's the kind of like a radar, like an alarm on the top of their heads that goes like yellow to red, and that's really intuitive, just to let you know that if you're being seen or not, or hidden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, that was cool.
The monkeys themselves react too. It's not just the alarm. So like they get more excited. They yell and scream a little bit. And it's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of funny just to hear monkeys react to things in general. To see it in a game, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I'm just weird. But
I like hearing monkeys scream.
Tim, let's not get into that conversation.
The voice acting was also weird for me.
Yeah, the dubbing is weird. Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, I'm used to the British version. I played the European version as a kid because I grew up in England. And so it's very strange to play this with an American accent on Spike and all the characters in the game. It's very strange to me.
That's so bizarre. I'm still wrapping my head around why they did that. You know, it seems like you're doubling the workload on your what are the nuances that for an Ape Escape game that you would have to be mindful of?
You know, people could get confused if it's like, oh, what's an elevator? Oh, you mean a lift? Oh, I get it. Oh,
yeah,
sure. I'm pretty sure everybody knows. I mean, like, I'm really like thinking right now, like, what would an American say in an Ape Escape that like a someone from England wouldn't understand, or someone from Europe in general? I don't know.
Maybe just
pretty strange.
Make them feel more at home?
I guess. I don't know. They should have
The voice acting was pretty bad in this too.
Yeah, the voice acting in general. Yeah.
Yeah, it was campy, cheesy, kind of charming, but also really bad.
Yeah, it's very anime-y, you know. I come from a space of anime stuff, and like I know good dubs from bad dubs, you know, and this is leaning more towards the bad side. It's very tropey. It's very like histrionic. You know, it doesn't feel natural in that sense. But to that extent, this is Ape Escape. It's not really about the dialogue so much as it is about the gameplay, about the world, about that. So it doesn't really. I mean, I think I mentioned before, the cutscenes are a little jarring just because they're very janky and they're not animated well, and the dialogue, is just like that. It kind of further takes you out of the action. But really, are you playing Ape Escape to figure out the lore behind I don't know, behind Spectre and this emo monkey and et cetera, et cetera? Not really.
There's a lot there. Yeah, there's the deep lore.
The deep lore, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To me though, as a kid, I was really engulfed in the story. So
really,
okay, yeah. So if your kid or kid brother plays this, they might enjoy this more than the average adult.
This is a game that I'm glad you brought that up, because this is a game that feels like it was made to encourage people to come together and to say like, hey, maybe it's me and looking back at it in hindsight, but like I feel like I would play this game with my son or daughter, because it's very fun and colorful, and there are some sections that are harder than others for sure, like some platforming elements that you have to glide through. They have to use certain gadgets to get through that a kid may not necessarily be able to do him or herself right away. So, to have that kid go, hey, mom or dad, can you help me get through this section? I think that's fabulous. It speaks, well to its design, how it encourages people to come together. And that's not to mention the mini games. There are 3 mini games that you can unlock by collecting all the 40 Spectre coins. And the mini games too, there's split screen co-op. So there's a space mini game, there's a skiing mini game, and there's a boxing mini game. And they're all really fun. And they all encourage people to come together. Like I said before, it's all in the name of having a good time. All right. So, what is everyone's overall thoughts of Ape Escape? Is it worth playing today, Chris? What do you think?
I definitely think it's worth playing today. I think the graphics hold up because of its cartoony art style. I love the puzzle platformer kind of like blend. It's super fun. I think the controls are decent, but the camera is difficult to manage. And also, it's a piece of history. Like one of the first times that a dual analog stick was used, and how Japan Studio was able to put this into the game and implement it, with the different gadgets is super impressive for the time.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, it is a part of history. It is something that we look back to and we're like, hey, the control scheme isn't what we're used to. It isn't. It's a far cry from what we enjoy today to an extent. I mean, we still use the left stick, right? But it is something that kind of founded everything that we take for granted a little bit. Tim, do you think Ape Escape holds up today?
Yeah, I would say so. It as I mentioned, I tend to like things that involve like collecting, and there's things you can complete. So this appeals to me in that way. It's a simple concept, but they explore it and they evolve upon it and add to it. And there's puzzle elements, and there's there's even like some certain ways you can't go until you catch a certain number of monkeys. So you have to like explore a level and really get to know it and do that and catch those monkeys before you can see other parts.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of all that, there's some charm and personality thrown in there as well, such as the bestiary and sort of making each monkey an individual a little bit.
Yeah.
And they kind of have personality that they like act a little different. Like some, when you approach them, will run away immediately, and others just sort of chill out or whatever. I don't remember if we mentioned, but like some of them just randomly just have guns, and then others will like punch you when you get up close to them, which is just silly and ridiculous, and I enjoy that.
And then some of them, like Dillweed, are just lazy little guys, and they're just hanging around.
Some of them are like one's one's riding a dinosaur, and then another's riding like a hammerhead shark.
Yeah, it consistently changes the formula, and that's
Yeah.
why Ape Escape works so well, because it just keeps it fresh with every stage.
It's almost like Pokemon in a way, you know, because like these
Yeah.
things are like, I mean, it's you know,
Gotta catch them all.
it's true though, is it not? It is very much of a. I mean, you talked about it at length, Tim. It is about it is a collectathon, and it feels that way. It's very satisfying in that way to kind of fill out your Pokédex / bestiary with all these monkeys. I totally agree with you guys in the sense that this is something that it has technological problems. It has dubbing problems. You know, it is a product of the '90s, the late '90s.
But that's the charm.
Exactly. And getting into that, like, it feels like it's a game that's just purely designed for fun. It's not really, like, personally, I don't look at the lore as something that's, you know, I see it as the game kind of just making fun of itself, or kind of like playing around a little bit. But, you know, to kids, like you brought up before, Chris, to kids, this might be something that's very engaging to them, and might be very fun to them. To me, I see it as something that's just very enjoyable, you know, something I don't take very seriously, and that trickles down to the gameplay, that trickles down to the sound design, which is very like techno-y, it's very upbeat, exciting. That can get kind of really annoying. I agree with you, Chris, in that sense, but you know, when you're capturing a monkey and that does that little pan around, it's so cool. Like, it's just so
satisfying.
It's so satisfying.
Monkeys, yeah.
That's exactly the right word to use. This is a game that it's definitely worth going back to, especially if you haven't already. It's a good kind of history lesson to see how our analog sticks evolved throughout the years, and it's also a good game just to play with your kid, you know, or to play with your younger brother or sister. Just have fun. You don't have to worry about immersion. You don't have to worry about keeping up with, you know, this elaborate story or anything. Just go pick up the controller, play it, and have fun.
It's an awesome palate cleanser.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
No monkey business.
There you go.
Well, lots of monkey business. But...
There you go. No Fortnite Battle Royale here. Although it's very possible.
I'd love to see a remake of this game, though. So with like pretty graphics, anime kind of art style, refined gameplay, new music, things like that. Maybe a battle royale mode. I like
120. I'm telling you, 2040, 240. Not 2040. That's way too much. 240 monkeys. 120 versus 120. You got Dillweed on one side. You got a couple of got a couple of assault rifles. You know, got to even it out a little bit. I'm telling you, man, it could work. It could work. Thank you for joining us for Ape Escape. Join us next week as we discuss Wolfenstein: The New Order, which originally released 5 years ago in 2014. Not really a classic game, but hey, it's modern and it's really good, so why not?
It's freaking awesome.
It's
I
really
started playing
freaking
it
awesome,
recently,
yeah.
And I'm loving it.
I love that game. So join us next week as we discuss Wolfenstein: The New Order. All right, so let's talk about games we're playing this upcoming week. Chris, what are you playing this week?
So I'm playing a mixture of different games. So I'm playing The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Ooh.
I've been loving the Switch recently. Like, I've had access to it over the last month, and I love it. Like, the exploration of the game, just finding all kinds of different things around the world, and just the scale of it's massive. And I love finding new kind of like loot all over. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I just finished the main campaign, the adventure mode. I think it gets too much hate for what it is. Adventure mode is super fun. It consistently changes like the enemies that you go against, and I like collecting different spirits. So it constantly changes like the gameplay formula with each match. And the ending boss fight is phenomenal. Like, it's super epic. Like, you get these like swinging scores of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate theme, and I was welling up with that kind of like atmosphere and just excitement for this boss battle. Then I played The Simpsons Road Rage. That is a classic on GameCube. It's kind of like a Crazy Taxi clone, but it has like the Simpsons kind of like commentating as they're playing. It can get annoying sometimes with what they're saying because it's like that classic kind of like tie-in movie cliche
Right.
where like they're saying the same lines over and over again.
Oh.
But it's super fun, and it's very very
It's The Simpsons.
faithful to the Simpsons.
Yeah. That's
Have
awesome.
you ever played Hit and Run?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I played that
I love that
ages
game.
ago. Yeah. That game's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Curious
Maybe
about
that could be another episode of the
Time
Time
Hop.
Hop. Maybe
maybe.
Yeah, I knew that one.
that'd be cool.
Yeah. Curious to know who do you main in Smash?
Who do I main in Smash? I main Mario mostly.
Oh, okay.
But King K. Rool is a new favorite of mine. He's pretty fun.
Oh, he's
Very
so I haven't played Smash, but he looks so much fun to play.
He's so cool.
I love like how you can use the crown. Like there's so many cool
Yeah.
little features about him, that you could
He-
just
He does like all the different things from the Donkey Kong Country games.
yeah.
He has the crown, and he does like the cannon,
Yeah.
and he has a jetpack.
So-
The third one, it's cool. I like it.
yeah.
He has many options.
I personally like Simon. I don't have the game. I don't have a Switch, but like I've played, I played it a lot because I'm not too far away from Nintendo NY in New York City, so I play a lot of Simon. It's just because I'm not really like a big Smash. I mean, I like the game, the series a lot, but like I've never really dived into it
Can be
competitively.
tough to get into.
Right. And I'm not really like that type of like a fighting game. I'm more of a single player, guy. I don't really dive into competitive scenes like that. But like I think Salmon it's really easy to pick him up. It's really easy to like you use like his chain, the cross. I love using the cross and then it comes back to you. Using the holy water. It's just so cool. Tim, what are you playing this week?
Well, I just like to say that according to the doc here, you assumed what I'm playing, and I would just like to say that I'm very offended. You can't just do that to me. I make my own choices in life.
Is it true?
That said, I am playing Minecraft.
I know you too well, Tim. You can't get past me. I know you too well now.
But it doesn't mean that you can assume it. No. That is probably likely what I will be playing.
Okay.
I'm playing an adventure map right now. Past like week or so. Do you know what that is? An adventure map?
I
Does
have
that
no
mean
clue.
I have no clue.
Okay. So it's like, Minecraft is a sandbox, and there's ways you can like kind of make your own pseudo mini games or games within it. So people like to make adventure maps where they like, they might have a story and there's different locations to visit, things to do. You go on an adventure, basically, and it's a map that someone's made that you can download and you can partake in that adventure. So it's basically like a game in a game, to put it simply. So I've been playing one. It was actually made by like a team of 12 people or so over the course of 2 years.
Oh.
So it's like pretty in depth, pretty well done, pretty fun. So probably just be doing that.
Do they sell that for like money, or is it like free?
I mean, traditionally it's it's for the community and it's free. I don't really know if anyone's monetized their maps before. I think it's more along the lines of like, we made a thing, it's free, maybe you can donate if you want.
Oh.
But I think it'd be reasonable if, I don't know, done right, if people wanted to
Well,
maybe somehow
I feel like
monetize it. But it's always a tricky thing because
yeah.
people don't like when things are free and then they're not free anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always a weird ground to
It's
walk.
that Bethesda mod thing that really upset people.
Yeah, I mean, look at Bethesda and their Steam, like the Steam Workshop, I think, right? That too.
Yeah,
Look at all
the
that stuff.
paid mod stuff.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing because, like, when people make stuff, it's fair, I think, if they get compensated for it. But from a consumer standpoint, it's like, why is this thing that was free not free anymore? This is stupid.
Yeah, I get that. That's for Minecraft. I feel like it's such a open canvas that it's almost like you can't really do that. Because it's built with creativity in mind. Whereas something like Bethesda's games or whatever, it's much more. I guess it's much harder to kind of build those mods. So maybe it's more understandable if you pay for them. But for Minecraft, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about game design, so that's just my assumptions. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool, like, I kind of like the idea of people in the community like making cool stuff and then getting rewarded for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Being able to, like, get a little something for it.
Yeah.
Because they made something cool just because they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't disagree, but it's a can of worms, because some people get mad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so. As for what I'll be playing this week, I won't be playing anything, but I will be rewatching that Sonic the movie trailer many times over. I seriously can't get Gangsta's Paradise.
Jim Carrey.
Long live Jim Carrey, that's right. I can't get Gangsta's Paradise out of my head, and that's very unfortunate. What do you guys think of Sonic the Hedgehog movie?
Is it bad for me to say that prior to that, I was not aware of the existence of or had ever heard of Gangsta's Paradise?
Well, there's a first time for everybody,
I guess so.
Yeah, it's one of those songs that, like, you don't know the name of it, but then it's all over the place, and then you're like, oh, that's what the song is, It's one of those type of things. So your impressions of Sonic then, Tim? Of the movie itself?
Well, I mean, he definitely looks interesting. I think it maybe at first it wasn't as like, whoa, but then there were people online, like artists who were doing their own, obviously people didn't really like the design, so they took it upon themselves to fix it, quote unquote.
Putting it lightly.
So they made it. So, like, artists sort of took certain scenes and made Sonic look more traditional, like having the weird Cyclops eye thing, or like having like gloves or big shoes or whatever. And then seeing the original and those renditions side by side, I was like, oh, yeah, that looks pretty different.
Yeah, it's pretty jarring. Yeah, Chris, what do you think of Sonic, the movie?
I know this is gonna sound stupid, but I'm actually looking forward to this film. I just love that Jim Carrey is coming back with like 90s Jim Carrey, with his weird, eccentric kind of like personality.
Yeah.
I love it. And I think it's perfect for Eggman. I think some of the effects look good, like the spin dash going into the truck. That looked pretty sick, and like Dr. Eggman's kind of like robots as well.
Yeah,
this is super cool.
I think so too. I mean, I love to see Jim Carrey returning to his 90s roots, playing these ridiculous characters. The memes that I've seen of Jim Carrey carrying the whole movie.
Oh yeah, he will be.
That I mean that may be very well true.
It looks terrible, and I'm just gonna put that out there, but like I think it's gonna be so bad it's good. Yeah, and they are redesigning Sonic, so it's probably gonna look. He's probably gonna look better, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. I hated the fact that the internet's kind of like focusing on his teeth and stuff. It's really kind of freaky to me, like the close-ups of his teeth. Like I'm just scrolling through Twitter and I see close-ups of Sonic's teeth, and I'm like, I don't want to see this.
It's creepy.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it too in that sense, Chris. Like it's like a morbid curiosity.
It's like a car crash. You just can't look away.
Exactly. Exactly. Tim, you hit the nail on the head there. Yeah. So
It's so bad, but I gotta look.
you've got to see this go up in flames. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we'll see. October, November. We'll see if this is something that wins an Oscar. Maybe, hopefully.
I'm sure it will. I actually forgot. Ben Schwartz is the voice of Sonic.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, for me at least, I know him mostly from Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
John Ralphio. But
Okay. Well, so you're saying that that's a good thing.
yeah, I mean, I hope so. I like him as an actor. So
Well, there's a good chance, this will beat Toy Story 4 at the Oscars next year. So
sure it will.
Could get Kids' Choice Award.
really?
I don't know.
Oh my God. Kids' Choice Award. Yeah, it's very. I'd love to carry that distinction. I want a Kids' Choice Awards, guys. Look at me. All right, so that about wraps it up for this episode of the Time Hop Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Lozada. You can find me on Twitter at XenoCreator125. Tim is here. You can find him on King Gamer writing articles as usual. And of course, Chris is here. You can find him on Twitter at Penwell Writes, and find him on Active Quest Podcast. They're on Podbean. They're on
Google Play and iTunes as well.
Yeah.
And you can use the RSS feed, and you can bung that on your podcast provider of your choice.
Yeah. So go do that. They're really cool podcasts. They do all of the news.
Thanks.
It's really fun. We were out there last week. We were talking about Days Gone, Mortal Kombat. So much fun. So go check them out. Thank you again for joining us, everyone. Join us next week for Wolfenstein: The New Order. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.